Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt, I am the American-Canadian Gamer, and the Battlefield 1 open beta dropped yesterday for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players, and I wanted to show you my experience with this game. Now, this is my first and pretty much only experience because I haven't been able to get the game to work since I played this one match. And I waited forever in queue for one of the only servers that was populated that was near me. I waited about 20 minutes in queue to be able to get into this game, and then I hop into the squad select screen that you can see right here, and it was a little bit laggy, but I figured, you know what, all it is it is just the server warming up. You know, it's the beta, there's lots of people trying to get in, there's probably people hopping into the queues because I was like eighth in the queue. So it'll all clear up by the time the match starts getting underway. But then I got to the deploy screen. I'm like, I'll just be the assault. I'll just kind of hop in and I'll just try to play and just try to get used to the game, try to get a little bit of experience and try to figure out exactly what's been going on with it. And I was especially excited to play Rush because I played a lot of Rush in Battlefield Bad Company 2, and it's probably my favorite game type in any of the Battlefield series. Just the Rush game type I like so much more than Conquest. But what you're seeing and what you're hearing is exactly what I was seeing and what I was hearing when I first spawned in. And I'm trying desperately to hit WAS and D to move. You can see I'm finally able to start moving here, but things are still incredibly laggy. There's just noises going around, there's explosions, there's particle effects, and there's all sorts of weird things happening, and then I just die before my weapon even loads in. And actually, ends up being a problem through this entire match. My weapon just refused to load during the entire match. I got some kills, and they were all from mounted turrets. Those were the only ways that I could get kills. Some people say they could use their war bonds and some other things to go buy a weapon, and that unlocks some things, but I don't know how they got the war bonds if they couldn't even use their weapon in the first place to get kills and do other things. Some people said if they tried to customize their stuff, it would fix it. I don't know exactly how they were doing some of this stuff, but I could not get anything to work. You can see my only option right there is really just the gas mask. I don't know why I don't have a weapon, but the joke in the match was that, hey, they're going to be DLCs. So that's another weird thing that was happening here. Aside from all the horrible lag and particle effects, you can see that I get run over by a tank that just appears out of nowhere. My horse is like, hey, dude, what you doing? You know, you just kind of got ran over right there, and now the other guy's taking the horse. So, I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, my computer is not the highest tier out there, but I mean, it runs, you know, Doom, it runs anything I've been throwing at it over the past however long it's been since I've upgraded it. I've never had any really bad issues when it comes to frame rate, except in very rare circumstances where I maybe need to update a driver or do other things. And I know my driver is up to date for this game because it wouldn't even let me launch it until I updated my driver. So I know that I have a fully updated driver on here. I know that my computer runs very well because I use it on a daily basis for many different games, so I know it really isn't my computer. It has to be something with this game. You can see there the texture on that player didn't load before the shading did. They were just kind of this gray blob there, and here I'm trying to walk around and trying to figure out exactly where my weapon is and what's going on. You can see things are still incredibly laggy, and it's really bad, and nobody was really all that happy with how things were going. The chat was just talking about different things like, oh, the servers are so bad, why is this just not on Steam, why do we have to use Origin and use all these other different systems that we don't want to use? And I actually thought the game was going to run better than the previous Battlefields had for me because it wasn't using the battle log system. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 used battle log, and I absolutely hated battle log. I never liked that system to begin with. I always wondered why they just didn't have the server browser in the game like games had done since they basically had been released until matchmaking became a thing from console influences. But the server browser just doesn't do anything. I mean, there's multiple empty servers, so you think, oh, hey, the servers that are running would actually be running okay, but they're just not. And you can see I'm going through here trying to figure some stuff out. It's like, oh, you don't have enough war bonds. I mean, I didn't bother looking at any values that I had or any values that anything required. I was just clicking on things, trying to get something to happen and thinking, hey, maybe if I even try to select an option, maybe that'll trip something. It'll trigger some threshold or trigger some action that will allow me to spawn with a weapon. And lo and behold, I do not spawn with a weapon into this environment. And then I can't even jump over these sandbags. I'm hitting space and then it prones me. It puts me in prone from hitting my spacebar trying to jump over these bags. My guy cannot jump. And that is just like me in real life. I cannot jump either, so at least I was able to relate to that aspect of the game. So I'm like, you know, I'll just go around and I'll press buttons, figure out what's going on, like I'm pressing on this thing here. And things are still rather laggy, but they're kind of smoothing out a little bit depending on what I'm doing. Like right here, it's not too awful bad. Although you can see that I still do not have a gun, so I'm like, I need to figure out a way that I can at least try to fight back and try to help my team out. And I see this turret sitting right here. I'm like, this is where I'm gonna get him. Good old turret warfare. And it's still kind of weird. When I'm firing the turret, it fires okay, but it does have its lag issues here and there that does make it difficult to lay some aim onto enemies. Like right here, it's kind of frozen for me. And this happens way more often than it should when I'm using this thing. Using anything in this game, like everything in this game is freezing and stuttering and crawling, and I am apparently not the only one from everything I looked up, from judging by the chat going on in this game, from forum posts to Twitter posts to Facebook posts, many people on PC are having horrible issues, and here I get my first kill of the whole game with the turret. That's exactly what I'm doing, even though we did, you know, kind of lose the objective, you know, I still got a kill, but anyways, I don't know how the game's acting on consoles. From what I understand, consoles are mostly suffering issues with matchmaking. Consoles are having a lot of issues with just connecting to games and other things along those lines. And you can see right there, I just kind of stalled out as I died. It was probably because I died that everything froze up and then lagged out, not what caused me to die, if that makes any sense. The tank shot me and the game goes, oh, you died, and as it's processing that, the game freezes. But yeah, the consoles don't seem to be having the same issues that the PC seems to be having. The PC seems to be having multiple issues when it actually comes to running the game on different machines. Like it's not properly optimized for seemingly any type of hardware. Some people are having luck with the game. Some people are able to run it at very high settings. Some people are able to run it at a smooth 60 when they do some setting tweaks. But as far as I'm able to tell, it's mostly just a crapshoot. It's a Dungeons and Dragons roll of the dice whether or not the game actually does run for you. And it's just lagging here and there. I'm like, hey, maybe I can go to that horse. I think the horse is what I'm going for here. Although I think I changed my mind after things started blowing up around me. I actually don't remember what I was doing here. I think now I'm just running around for the heck of it. Because I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Kind of watching chat a little bit, seeing if anybody has any fixes for it. And I've kind of run out of things to say about this match at this point. I thought I could keep going, but I apparently recorded significantly more than I realized I had. So we're going to keep going with this and do the best that we can with it here. This game just so far is not running well, and I haven't actually been able to get it to run pretty much since this match. This has been my only experience with this game, and that saddens me so much because I'm really looking forward to this. I really miss this era of war games where the first-person shooter genres where you had very limited mobility capabilities, where you had very limited weaponry. You know, you had bolt-action rifles, semi-automatic rifles, submachine guns. There weren't... You know, I even kind of miss assault rifles a little bit. I'll say that. I miss a low-tech, or at least modern, or before. Like, I miss COD 4 technology levels. I miss World War II technology levels. The Vietnam War technology levels where you have, you know, bolt-action rifles, submachine guns, grenades, tanks, and just all those basics. I'm kind of actually worn out on the whole futuristic exoskeleton and almost magic power level of gadgets that you seem to get in more modern shooters, which I love on some levels, but on the other end, I do kind of miss this more, not so much realistic, but more grounded approach to the combat. Back in the days when you had, you know, Battlefield 2, Call of Duty 4, the old Call of Duties, I should say, like Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, back when you could have, like, realism servers and people would have rules against jumping during combat and all these other things. I miss things like that where that could be possible. And I'm excited for this to be a kind of return to form for that, but at the same time, I'm not able to play it. And here is where I get onto this one turret here. I finally figure out something. I get this cannon. Well, not a turret, it's a cannon. And I'm like, hey, I can take some shots. And I'm like, ooh, this thing's powerful. And then I go to take a shot, and it's like, oh, I have to reload it manually? That is so cool. There's so many cool elements to this game. And the turret, or the cannon, I should say, rotates nice and slowly. After every shot, you have to load it up and everything else. And I think it is a wonderful, wonderful thing for this game because this gives you options against tanks, which is something Battlefield's always had a lot of trouble with, I've noticed. Like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, unless you were a specific class, if a tank came around the corner, you were just kind of done for. If you were like just a regular, if you're like a medic or something, like a tank was just your worst nightmare, which there are places for that type of balance, but I mean, you need to have ways for average people to handle vehicles on some level, and a stationary cannon like this, which, I mean, granted, it can't kill a horse, but it'll probably kill a tank. These horses are really strong. They don't make horses like this no more. Given the regular soldiers the options to fight against armor with something like this, where, granted, this thing is powerful and does a lot of damage, but it's slow and it's stationary, so you're not specialized in fighting off armor, but it gives you kind of a fighting chance to do so. And that's something I really appreciated about something like Titanfall, where in Titanfall, everybody spawned with an anti-Titan weapon, and it gave you the ability to fight off the mechs. And things like this, where you can get headshots with it, by the way, like I just did there, things like this allow you to fight off the armor. So it's showing me that there's going to be multiple options to handle combat in ways that you haven't been able to before, because things are more low tech. So you have like a cannon just sitting here for seemingly no reason that allows you just to take on a tank or take on any kind of armored vehicle or just vehicle of any kind. And I'm waiting for people to have videos where they're shooting planes out of the sky with these things. I'm waiting for something like that to happen. I don't know if it's any possible at all on any of the maps. I actually didn't try the vertical elements of this very much, so I actually don't know if they can even aim high enough to take down a flying vehicle, a plane, but it is nice to have something like this in the game. And this is basically where I sit for the majority of the rest of the game, because it is the only way that I can get kills, because the weapons for me aren't spawning for whatever reason, just like a lot of people in this game. A lot of people were talking about how their weapons just weren't spawning for them, and I did see a guy somewhere, and then it started lagging like this, and I was like, well, now I can't get a shot on him. I think the guy popped in the doorway that I was just looking at previously, and then I see movements up in here, I believe, and then I pulled the trigger, but nothing fires. So I just fire again, and the guy still happened to be there, fortunately. And I get to reload. Getting a nice little streak here. I actually feel like I'm contributing, and this right here is such fun gameplay to me. I love this. Like, what little gameplay of this worked felt good. Even though it was a bit laggy and had some issues, I am kind of excited to play this game if they can get another patch out, if they can figure out what's going on with their servers, because I heard that there were some DDoS attacks that happened on the EA Blizzard servers with the launch of Legion, and now with this hitting beta, obviously there's probably going to be DDoS attacks. There have been all sorts of issues from what I've been hearing on the technical side, and hopefully they get these sorted out. We get some patches, we get some kind of update, something that lets the players actually experience the fullness of this game, because it does seem like it is actually a pretty fun little game, and I want it to work. Although, if they can't get the beta to work properly, I don't know what that's going to mean for the full release of the game, because if it runs like this, and they can't get this to work, why should I invest at all in the main game, despite the fact that I want to so bad, because the setting of the game, like, it has horses! It has horses, even though I'm having a lot of trouble getting on the horse. I'm having a whole lot of trouble. I don't ride horses, ever. Even though this is nothing like riding a real horse. So, I mean, maybe just my inexperience, it can tell. It's like, you don't ride horses. You don't know what you're doing here. But this is the only time I have an actual gun in the game, but the horse is controlling really weird for me because the controls are delayed. Like, I go to turn, and then it turns a little later. I try to, you know, control it a little bit, but it doesn't really listen to me, and then I just get killed and get my horse taken from me. He done stole my horse because the lag, it wouldn't control right. I couldn't, like, stop, and then we somehow win. We somehow won, and then right after the screen, the game froze, and I had to use Control-Alt-Delete and open the task manager and close the game that way. So, that is my experience with Battlefield 1 so far, Turret Warfare. Hopefully it gets better. This was kind of bad. This was kind of really bad, but we'll see how it comes in the days that follow in the beta, and hopefully they get some patches and they get something sorted out. I don't know, but Hopefully it does, because I am excited for the potential that this game holds. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.